we are all here. I'm sure you know members of the National Executive Committee who are here. I will quickly move to introduce them. I've got Comrade Tito Mboweni, who's also the Minister of Finance in the Republic of South Africa. We also have got Comrade Godongwani, who's the Chair of the ETC Subcommittee of the National Executive Committee. We've got Comrade Khumbudzo Nchaveni. She's a deployee of the ANC and as the Minister of Small Business Development. And Comrade Dakota Lukwete is part of the ANC's media relations team. You know the Secretary General of the African National Congress is going to present a statement here, so he will stand up when he's coming to read the statement. And they also have Mama Tankosazana Dlamini Zuma. She's also the Minister of Local Government.
She's standing.
Yes. And the Chair of Education and Health Subcommittee, Science and Technology. And you also have Comrade Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa. She's also part of the Health, Education and Health Subcommittee. Comrades, I'm going to invite the Secretary General of the ANC to come and present the statement on the outcomes of the National Executive Committee. Comrade SG, the font is proper.
Well, thank you and good morning. Let me read the statement on the outcomes of the ANC National Executive Committee held on the 27th to the 30th of September 2019. The ANC National Executive Committee met from the 27th to the 30th of September 2019 to discuss strengthening local government and economic recovery and transformation strategy to improve the performance of the economy, deal with issues of gender-based violence and national health insurance. The discussions on local government and the economy also included representatives from our ANC alliance partners, that is COSATU and South African Communist Party, as well as various experts and other stakeholders and deployed cadres. An economic recovery and transformation strategy, South Africa urgently needs to turn around its economic performance as the rates of growth and investment are too low. There are serious limitations on the ability of the economy to respond to massive unemployment, entrenched and rising inequalities, persistent poverty, and slow recovery of our industrial capabilities. We welcome the last quarter that saw a rise in economic growth. The National Executive Committee considered and agreed on a range of economic policy interventions to achieve a higher rate of economic growth and economic inclusion based on presentations by its Economic Transformation Subcommittee. The ETC presentations focused on progress on the industrial strategy, the energy and minerals sector, the state of public enterprises, the promotion of small and medium enterprises, as well as the macro growth and recovery strategy. There was a broad consensus across all representations on the severity of the challenges and the key economic tasks of the moment. The National Executive Committee once more confirmed that the overarching objective of economic policy remains to build an inclusive economy by stimulating investment, growth and job creation, and thereby decisively tackling poverty and inequalities, raising living standards and improving the well-being of all South Africans. The meeting therefore concluded on a policy package to more effectively promote sustainable demand together with economic reforms that lay the foundations for medium and long-term impact. These reforms must provide especially young people, women, and people with disabilities with opportunities to participate in the economy, whilst expanding the industrial capabilities of South African economy. Key areas of growth enhancing reforms, most of which provide detail to the basic policy proposals contained in the National Development Plan, Government 2018 Stimulus and Recovery Plan, and the ANC 2019 Election Manifesto, include, amongst others, modernizing network industries such as energy, transport, telecommunication, and making them more cost competitive, increasing competition and lowering costs and barriers to entry for small business, prioritizing growth in labor-intensive sectors such as agriculture, tourism, clothing, and mining, and refocusing industrial and trade policy to promote competitiveness, and export promotion and enhancing growth opportunities in the African continent. The NEC emphasized that these reforms will be complemented by measures to improve the competitiveness of the South African economy, macroeconomic policy that support economic objectives, and disciplined and effective implementation at all levels of government. The NEC reaffirmed the position that macroeconomic policy must support the country overall development strategy and contributes towards higher growth and employment. And on stimulating demands for goods and services, the National Executive Committee agreed that the package should include increased expenditure on infrastructure, which will support additional demand for steel, metal fabrication, cement, the construction industry, transport and logistics, as well as consumer electrical and other goods. Deeper localization policies to regain market share loss to imports through strong public procurement measures, as well as new partnership with the retail industry to promote the Proudly South Africa campaign. Exploring new markets through trade policies that expand opportunities for exports to regional, continental, and global markets for the goods that we produce, as well as appropriate measures to support domestic industries, especially SMMEs and cooperatives, and implementation of our social policy, including revamping the community public works programs and expand public works program, and other welfare to work programs, and macroeconomic policies that support growth and job creation. And on improving the supply capacity of the economy, the National Executive Committee agreed that the package should include a re-emergent industrial strategy with identified industrial sectors to improve competitiveness and dynamism and job creation, a trade policy that supports these efforts, and policies that increase the opportunities for youth, women, black industrialists, and SMMEs, mobilization of public, private sector, and foreign direct investment, strengthening support to small, medium, and macro enterprises and cooperatives, and regulatory environment that improves the ease of doing business, increase competition and address monopolies, and economic concentration and improvement in the capacity of SARS and other public agencies to deal with illegal imports and illicit financial flows. The National Executive Committee reaffirmed the commitment to an education and skills revolution with dedicated programs to expand early childhood education, improving the quality of basic education as well as education and skilling of young people, training and retraining of women and workers to participate in a changing society and economy. The National Executive Committee also welcomed the work in progress to conclude detailed sector master plans with all stakeholders in the prioritized industrial sectors, including agriculture and agro-processing, clothing and textiles, steel, auto and components, tourism, the green and digital economies, mining and beneficiation, energy, chemicals and plastics, and the creative sectors and the ocean economy. We also noted and supported the new approach to the development and expansion of various spatial economic initiatives, including special economic zones, industrial parks, and district municipality intervention. The NEC agreed that budget and policy instruments should be aligned to the sector and special work so that the plans are adequately resourced and implemented in partnership with local government, the private sector, labor, and all other stakeholders. The NEC re-emphasized the importance of SMMEs in our economic strategy. And the National Executive Committee also affirmed the approach of a balance between national development goals and global obligations with regards to climate change, particularly in the energy sector. The integrated resource plan should articulate the lowest cost option for the future energy mix for South Africa, with increased contributions from renewable energy sources. The National Executive Committee agreed to develop a strategy on a just transition to a low carbon path of development that takes into account the interest of workers, communities, and broader society. This should include new technologies as fuel cell applications, which require platinum group metals, which South Africa has in abundance. The National Executive Committee emphasized the importance of investment in current and long-term infrastructure needs, including investment in economic infrastructure such as roads, bridges, dams, electricity, water supply, social infrastructure, such as schools, hospital, parks, and administrative services, as well as economic services. And in this regard, public-private partnership, especially in aviation and energy and other areas, will be critical. It was noted that many consultations had been held with relevant stakeholders to deal with these matters, and that the agent challenge pertains to implementation. We emphasize the question of implementing our decisions and our policies moving forward. Our priority areas include the restructuring of Eskom and dealing with Eskom's unsustainable financial position, and tackling the poor financial position of Eskom, SAA, Denel, and other state-owned companies. It was agreed that the long-standing ANC policy with respect to strategic equity partners in various state-owned companies and consideration will be given to models of worker and social ownership. In the wake of weak growth, there is a renewed appreciation by the National Executive Committee of the roles of the private sector and labor as key partners for growth. We also welcome the initiatives by the President and government to build social compacts based on common commitment to enhance the general economic welfare of the nation. The NEC noted the discussions at various fora to speed up economic recovery, including engagements at NEC, job summits and investment conferences, and through the CEO initiatives. Among the multitudes of programs that require intensification, the YES initiative, the Small Business Fund, and public-private partnership, the meeting also reaffirmed the need to pay attention to uncompetitive behavior in many sectors of the economy, resulting in high prices for consumers and barriers to entry, and supports the ongoing work of the Competition Commission in this regard. The framework developed at the NEC will now be taken through agent consultations to enrich the ideas and to build consensus on further measures to boost growth and economic inclusion as part of building a new social compact on the economy, providing a strategic framework within which South Africa's upcoming medium-term budget policy statement will be presented at the end of October 2019. Overall, the ANC emerges from this four-day meeting with a clear determination to act decisively and resolutely. The ANC will meet its alliance partners in the Political Council for further engagement. It will also engage other social partners to build an overarching social compact for the implementation of an economy recovery and transformation plan. This will happen very soon so that we ensure that our comrades in government move with speed to implement these decisions. Strengthening local government, the National Executive Committee discussed the state of local government and local government development and took the following key decisions. The NEC endorsed the district development model that aims to improve cooperative governance, joint planning, budgeting, implementation, and monitoring, and across the three spheres of government. All ANC structures will be mobilized to get involved in supporting this initiative, working together with civil society, ANC councillors, alliance partners, stakeholders, communities. Where municipalities run into problems, government should start by using Section 154 of the Constitution, which are to address problems and support municipalities before considering invoking the provision of Section 139. Managing performance of local government municipalities as well as councillors, the ANC committed ourselves to society during the recent election campaign. The ANC has started to review its own performance and that of its public representative in all municipalities so that we strengthen the accountability of ANC employees in local government. This process will be concluded before the end of this year, and we shall work together to support struggling municipalities and have accountability and consequence management where required. Where we are required to take decisions of local government in terms of what is actually happening, the ANC is going to take decisive action, and there will be consequence management. On fighting corruption and clean local government, the National Executive Committee decided that the involvement by ANC members and leaders in procurement contributes to competition for resources. This, together with the rise of predatory business lobbies and fora, has an adverse impact on local government, and ANC structures creates instability in communities, poor performance on basic services, and damage the image of the ANC. So we are actually saying to ANC structures, stop macromanaging the structures of government. The ANC municipality troika must not be involved in supply chain matters, and we commit to clean and ethical governments at all levels, and will take firm action against those involved in corruption, fraud, nepotism, and wasteful expenditure. And ANC employees in local government must follow up on the recommendations of the Auditor General to improve audit performance on all municipalities. And we will be going to all provinces to ensure that they implement these decisions. Strengthen local government will strengthen the ANC local government candidate selection. The National Executive Committee agreed on a process to review the ANC candidate selection process as we move towards 2021 elections. This included reworking through the eye of the needle and expediting the implementation of the 54 National Conference resolution for the establishment of a permanent ANC electoral commission, and will provide guidelines and coordinate the evaluation of current councillors before the selection candidates for local government elections in 2021. And on the issue of debt owned by municipalities and 2 municipalities, the ANC will immediately embark on a mass campaign to mobilize and encourage society to pay for services. People should not hide behind the fact that they are not paying because so those who have must definitely pay, and the indigents must register themselves and ensure that they are actually identified. Municipalities owing ESCOM and Water Board must settle outstanding debts or make arrangements to do so, and ESCOM and Water Boards must also refund municipalities where it has actually overcharged them. National and provincial departments that owns municipalities and ESCOM and Water Boards for services must all pay their debts The relevant authorities in government will ensure that monies owing are settled in a manageable way over the coming period. The National Executive Committee calls on all local communities, citizens, black and white, and other stakeholders to participate in shaping the district model of development in ward committees and other community structures, the development of the IDP, and local community initiatives. And the National Executive Committee also focus on the issues of crime and violence in society. The National Executive Committee received a report from Peace and Stability Committee on the crisis of gender-based violence and recent criminal violence against foreign nationals and South Africans. Violence is violence, irrespective of nationality. And the National Executive Committee emphasized the fact that criminality is criminality, and where action is supposed to be taken, it doesn't matter what the reasons are. Criminality is criminality, and the police must act. And the National Executive Committee expressed its abhorrence and condemnation of all forms of abuse, intolerance, and violence against women and children. The ANC will develop and implement a comprehensive program against gender-based violence throughout all its structures, and the meeting also agreed that the ANC structure will strengthen community safety forums and educate our people on the serious cause of rape, assault, and violence in society. And we have also agreed to implement our drug master plan as national government. The National Executive Committee further agreed with the commitment of government to strengthen the whole criminal justice system to clear the backlog of gender-based violence-related costs and ensure successful prosecutions going forward. And we are aware that government has set almost $1 billion aside, and we have actually commended government for such an action. The ANC will engage its members and structures on the underlying causes and attitudes that lead to gender-based violence, particularly amongst its male members, so that we address root causes. South African men must understand that they do not own women. They are partners, wives, sisters, daughters, or any other women. And on migration and violence against foreign nationals and South Africans, the National Executive Committee received a report from Peace and Stability on recent criminal violence against foreign nationals as well as South Africans. And the meeting endorsed the measures undertaken by government to ensure an increase in visible policing and strong law enforcement in all areas affected by violence and lawlessness, to strengthen the border management, and to engage with African Union and other multilateral institutions on migration matters. One key issue which the National Executive Committee focused on was the National Health Insurance, NHI. The NEC noted progress towards implementation of the National Health Insurance. It is a critical step towards universal health coverage and our constitutional mandate of access to quality health for all. It also received an update on implementation of the Presidential Health Compact on improvements in the public and private healthcare systems. The National Executive Committee noted the report of the Competitions Commission, as we have said, on health market investigations. It is also recalled the recent UN Declaration on Universal Health Coverage, which reaffirmed global humanity commitment through sustainable development goals to, I quote, the right of every human being to the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health without distinctions of any kind, close quote. The National Executive Committee resolved to strengthen mass mobilization of ANC structures, the Alliance, and all progressive forces and communities in support of the NHI to educate members and society on NHI. It expressed its community, its support for the million signature campaign by the South African Communist Party, and will join forces with the Congress Alliance and MDM forces in social mobilization programs for submissions to Parliament in support of the NHI bill. The National Executive Committee further mandated the National Working Committee to finalize and submit the ANC written submission on the NHI bill to Parliament before the deadline. One of the things we have discussed is that the day of action to end the global sanctions against Zimbabwe. The South African liberation movements met in September 2019 and adopted a day of action to call for an end to global sanctions against Zimbabwe, our neighbor. The Day of Solidarity will be on the 25th of October 2019, and all ANC and alliance structures are requested to mobilize activities on this day. It will happen throughout SADC. And the National Executive Committee also look at the issue of replacing the appointed Comrade Lindiwe Maseko to fill the vacancy which was left by the passing away of Comrade Edna Molewa on the National Executive Committee. May her soul rest in peace. And the National Executive Committee also co-opted the following comrades to the National Executive Committee: Comrade Firoz Kachalia, well-known activist and leader; Comrade Ayanda Dlodlo; Comrade Blade Nzimande; Comrade Niva Khetla; and Comrade Bavelile Hlongwa. We took this decision before the passing on of Comrade Bavelile, and may her soul rest in peace. The National Executive Committee observe a moment of silence on the passing of Comrade Bavelile Hlongwa, which occurred after the National Working Committee recommended her to be co-opted. The NEC also appointed Comrade Mavivi Mayakayaka Manzini and Terence Trion to the Integrity Commission. ANC members are therefore called upon to check their membership status before the system goes live. The development of a modern online membership system for the ANC is drawing to a close, and ANC members in October will be encouraged across the length and breadth of the country in all over more than 4,000 wards to attend branch meetings to check their status. As part of this check your status, we will embark on a campaign called Isivese campaign, meaning show up. ANC members who have not recently renewed their membership are encouraged to do so and to bring their renewal forms to their branches from the 12th to the 13th of October. Throughout the country, there will be branch general meetings. The Isivese campaign is to ensure that all members are in the membership database before the online system goes live by the end of this month. The new online system, which will allow ANC members to have direct access and control over their membership, is to prevent practices of gatekeeping and membership manipulation. It will also strengthen organization and renewal at local government level, because branches will have real-time access to the status of their members so that they can induct them and involve them in the life of the branch and communities. And the National Executive Committee also met the National Executive Committee of the Veterans League to ensure that the veterans take forward the process of inducting as commissars our branches and participate in political education. And on the 50th anniversary of the People's Republic, the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, the National Executive Committee congratulated the People's Republic of China and the Communist Party of China on the occasion of its 70th anniversary of its revolution of 1949 and the achievements the country has made in eradicating poverty and taking its rightful place in the world. And in conclusion, the National Executive Committee recognized that the country is going through a difficult historic moment for households, young people, women, and communities. And as a nation, these difficulties are not insurmountable if we work together to find solutions to these common challenges. At the end of the day, the only way to find solution is through dialogue at local, sectoral, and national levels, and by working together to tackle our problems together. And the National Executive Committee reiterates its stance that violence creates new challenges and is not conducive to an atmosphere of problem solving. We believe that the economic recovery and transformation strategy will help turn our economic fortunes around and provide a foundation for building an inclusive economy for all. And the National Executive Committee welcomed over 700 submissions made on the National Treasury discussion paper as a clear indication that South Africans remain committed to finding solutions and working together to build a better life for all. And in similar vein, the frank national discussions and actions on gender-based violence and on violence against foreign nationals and South Africans and migration is an indication of a nation committed to tackling complex problems. We have committed ourselves, and we still commit ourselves, and we are calling upon South Africans to work together and commit to working together in the spirit of Khawuleza. We are sure that the media will actually inform all South Africans about the decisions we have taken. Thank you very much.
No. Thank you very much, SG. And thanks for sticking to the time, SG. You spent exactly 2.5 minutes on a page. So, colleagues, this is how we're going to work. We're going to take one round of questions specific to the statement. If there are issues that colleagues might want to raise which are not on the statement, colleagues are welcomed to raise those with us after the briefing. By 12:30, we should be done with this briefing. So we are now opening for that round, and then comrades who are here will also be able to answer your questions. So if it's specific to issues of local government to do with the district model, Mamang Nkosazana is here. If it has got to do with NHI, Comrade Gwen is here. If it has got to do with small business, Comrade Kumbuzo is here. If it has got to do with the economy, both Comrade Enoch and Comrade Tito are here. So specific, pointed. Let's go. Okay, let's start with the lot. Natasha. Yes, you'll introduce yourself. And Khutazo. So we only have 3 hands. So these 3 hands are the historic hands that we have taken today. Or the last one. Okay. So we only have 4 hands. So we are close. After this 4, then we are done with the briefing. You want to come? Huh? Just put your name on the list. It's very safe. Okay. Oh, you want to put your name on the list? Okay. No, thanks for correction, Comrade Tito. Yes. No, we can't use that. Okay. So let's recap. It's Samkelo, Natasha, Sisi from SABC, or Osintombi from SABC, huh? Ray, Daily Maverick. Okay, Teto, Eyewitness News. Lodi, Business Day, Khutazo, Sowetan. Okay. Only on the statement. Okay. So let's take this side and then we take the other side and then from there we'll take answers at once.
Samkelo Masego from ANC. My question is basically, is the ANC basically saying that privatization of some state-owned enterprises is partially here? Is that the gist of what you are saying, that some SOEs or certain parts of state-owned enterprises will be privatized? And then On the issue of the controversial document released at night by the Minister of Finance, Tito Mboweni, which speaks nothing about ANC conference resolutions of the nationalization of strategic sectors of the economy and land expropriation without compensation. Is the ANC endorsing this economic recovery plan of the Department of Treasury? And then on ESCOM and the unbundling of ESCOM, are you saying that certain parts or non-strategic core assets of state-owned enterprises must be sold to private hands? Is that what the ANC is saying? Thank you.
Good morning, or actually good day. It's Natasha Perry here from the SABC. Sorry. Okay, so the SG just said that, okay, the NEC noted progress on the NHI Migwen. I'm just curious on finding out, yesterday the AfriForum had actually encouraged the public to submit commentary against the bill. Maybe the ANC's reaction on this, and can I just please try my luck, because I mean you guys met with the Alliance over the weekend, right? And it came out that the SACP, I beg your pardon, is threatening to contest local government elections without the ANC. Is this something that the ANC actually engaged the SACP on? Thank you.
Is it on the statement?
It's not. That's like I'm just pushing my luck. Thank you.
Okay.
Number 3.
Thank you. Minister Nozin Mia from SABC TV News. I just want to know whether you believe that the position now with regards to the economic transformation document will provide certainty with regards to investors, private sector, public sector going forward. Thanks.
It's Ray Mahlaka from Daily Maverick. My question is for Mr. Mboweni and Godongwana. I just want to clarify, has the NEC adopted the document, the strategy document, in its entirety? Because on the part of ESCOM, you talk about introducing an equity partner, whereas the document itself talks about the sale of coal-fired power stations, possibly through auctions. So my question is just about clarifying, has the NEC adopted the document on reforms and growth in its entirety? Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Tito Mahlakwana. My question is followed up to Ray's. I'm a bit confused also pertaining how the party and National Treasury's proposals on ESCOM will exactly align, because there's mention of engaging social partners and maybe labor in terms of getting the restructuring underway. But which restructuring is this? Because as far as I understand, that is already underway. There's a restructuring officer appointed to carry out the process. Which is this? Is this a new concept, or is it just a continuation of what the ESCOM management, with approval of the Public Enterprises Ministry, has already been undertaking to do? My second question is related to local government. Now, I find it interesting that the party is endorsing the district service delivery model only after the government and through cabinet had already approved it and put it through. Now, I wonder if this I guess, I don't know how else to put it, the exchange between going to party and state first is problematic, because you would need those councillors that are mainly on the ground, who are mostly ANC councillors, to carry this out, and district municipalities to carry this out. And my last question is on encouraging South Africans to pay their bills to municipalities. Now, we are all aware of just how difficult the economy is in the country currently, with the party and government having stressed just how consumers are struggling overall. What is new? What do you hope to achieve with this campaign? The SG says there will be a campaign to encourage people to pay. But from where? Where is the money going to come from? South Africans are struggling. So I wonder if you've got a new idea on exactly how you would get South Africans who are out of pocket to just fork out money. When municipalities themselves have been struggling to just fulfill a mandate of paying their bills. Thank you so much.
Kgotatso Madisa from the Sowetan. Minister of Finance, so you read the story. Minister, was your explanation and apology for releasing the document before it was discussed, the controversial document as they call it, was your explanation that it risked getting leaked? Can I? Was that explanation accepted and by everyone in the room, especially COSATU and SACP, who have aired their views on the document itself? So basically, was it accepted? And then on the issue of encouraging people to pay their debts, did the ANC, NEC discuss the ongoing battle between the city and Cedar Park, where the Gautrain station is housed, the battle to get them to pay the 8 million rand for service that they failed to pay since 2013? Was that discussed? My last question would be about it's almost a year since the Great Bank Heist report was on VBS was released. Did the NEC discuss that? And why has there been any action? Why has there been any action, especially on the political front, on people who were implicated in that report? Was any of that discussed?
So we agree you are asked. That is outside what we said must be asked. No, it's okay. We said we are focusing on the statement.
Hi, Claudie from Business Day. I just wanted to find out, when you refer to the ANC's policy with regards to the strategic equity partners, you say some SOEs. Can you just specify exactly which SOEs that would be applicable on specifically? And then just in terms of local government, with regards to strengthening the ANC's, like the selection process specifically, did the NEC specifically specify so far what you believe is the big problem with selecting candidates at this moment? And what would that be? Thank you.
Okay. We start with NHI, local government, economy, small business, and then the SG will close it. Comrade Gwen? You can come.
Thank you very much.
You can come here.
Oh.
Because here television sees it proper.
Thank you very much. I think the question was, but the person who raised the question is not here. Oh, Gwen. Oh, okay, Gwen, on the NHI. Natasha, ne? Thank you very much, Natasha, for the question. You are asking me what our posture is on those that call for comments to the NHI bill, to reject the NHI bill. Well, I think you are asking a wrong organization, because our organization, as part of the liberation movement, we believe that health is a basic human right, and that that posture has been supported even by the UN, and that's why the universal health coverage is part of the United Nations development goals. So it may be that the people do not have a full understanding of the policy, so it is our responsibility to go through a massive education campaign, clarifying the fears and the concerns, and also clarifying that, especially to investors, that the investment returns will be guaranteed if the people are healthier and they'll be more productive. They'll be partners in growing the economy beyond just a human rights issue. But further, there are concerns about the health, the skills flight. And this is also one concern that the health professionals have. Neither in the current situation is there a guarantee of payment. And that is why many health workers, even in the private sector, are calling for out-of-pocket contribution. So the universal health coverage will create certainty and for both the patients as well as the health workers and health professionals and healthcare providers, that at the point of care, when one really is in need of health care, the issue of money doesn't come in. So prepayment is a key issue. So we really want to acknowledge also the release of the health market inquiry, which also does demonstrate that we need to strengthen both the public and the private sector, integrate them, and have the access to quality care for all, a reality in our country in line with the Constitution, Section 27. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me just clarify that the district development model is not a new policy. It's how government is going to work. And the ANC has looked at how we've done our work in the past 25 years, and government has done the same, and realized that we have done a lot, but we have not been able to maximize our impact, in part because we've been working in silos. The departments at national have been working in silos, but also across the spheres. So we looked at how we can remedy this so that we can work in a more integrated and coordinated way. And of course, the Constitution acknowledges that the government has got 3 spheres of government, distinctive but interdependent and interrelated. So we came to the conclusion that the best way to remedy this silo way of working is to work using the IGR Act, which is the Intergovernmental Relations Act, which actually mandates us to work together across the spheres and across departments. And so the district development model is addressing that. It's not new policy. And that's why government had to look at how it's going to work. And then we have come up with this. And ANC is just saying it's going to mobilize its structures behind this way of working. And of course, this will help a lot also in assisting local government, because the Constitution says that the national government and the provincial must support and strengthen local government so that it's able to take on its responsibilities. And working in districts, it gives us the enough geographical space to work on, institutional as well. And it means that government, as government, across departments and across spheres and down the spheres, will come to a district in future and work with the people, get the aspirations of the people, and eventually come up with one plan for the entire government for a district. And then Treasury will then come up with a budget, and we will have one plan, one budget, and we will all implement. We'll just have different rules, but we'll all implement at the district level. And this will also assist so that we can begin to look at our economy district by district and say, in this district, what is the economic potential of this district? And how do we then ensure that that economic potential stops being a potential but becomes a reality? And all spheres of government will work together. And that way, we hope that we will improve and increase the number of small businesses in the district, cooperatives, but also big business. And also, we want to ensure that when there is a potential there, let's say it's agriculture, we don't just always sell things raw, that we can also get into agro-processing in that district. And that can go for mining, that can go for other things. So that's really the district model. It's just how government is going to work now. And we hope that this will improve the way government is perceived by our people, but also we will also shorten the distance, narrow the distance between government and the people. And eventually, also, the districts will contribute to the economic development, to the wealth of the people, and poverty and inequality. Coming to the question about payments, I think the Minister of Finance will answer that question, but I will partially answer it as well. I think what we are saying is, let's have a culture of paying where we are supposed to pay. That's why we're starting by saying national governments that owe ESCOM or owe the municipalities or owe must pay. So it's not just the citizens. We're saying everybody who owes must pay. Where you are supposed to pay, pay. We are also saying ESCOM, because ESCOM also owes municipalities. ESCOM must also pay the municipalities where they owe them, but municipalities must also pay ESCOM where they owe. Citizens must also pay, but ANC has long developed a policy, and government has implemented a policy of how we deal with indigent citizens. So indigent citizens, they register, and they are known as the SG said in his statement, and then we know that these ones cannot pay. But those who can pay must pay. So that's all that we are saying. Of course, all the other things that have been said are to improve the economy, are to assist in job creation and so on, so that even more and more people will be able to pay their debt. Thank you.
The rent. There are people who are mischievous in this, who have taken the Comrade Tito's shoes and put them on Twitter. Yeah. They've taken the Comrade Tito's shoes and put them on Twitter. Now they are trending. Now those shoes are trending on Twitter. Yeah, Comrade, let me start by saying most of your questions sometimes tend to indirectly rotate around ESCOM. And sometimes a misunderstanding of what are the current issues. People tend to club things together in ESCOM, we should avoid clubbing them together. The first part, which we should look into, which is less of a problem, which the ANC has approved, is the restructuring of ESCOM into 3 entities. That's not privatization. Okay. Into 3 entities. One is generation, one is transmission, one is distribution. Those are completely 3 entities. And that debate has been going on for years within the ANC ranks. You'll recall in 2012, Minister Tina Jomat tabled what was called the ISMO bill in Parliament. As part of that discussion, because we couldn't proceed with it, we had not concluded it at the time. So That is separation of those two entities. You will recall, for instance, distribution. We started earlier on when we started to form the REDS and EDI. It was part of separating distribution from ESCOM. But a part of the difficulty which still exists is the contestation between ourselves and municipalities on distribution. Okay. So we should not confuse those issues. The second set of issues in ESCOM are operational issues, which government is dealing with. Amongst those issues is the amount of debt ESCOM has accumulated over the years, and therefore how to deal with that issue. And the third area are the operational efficiencies. All of those issues are operational, are not a policy issue. The ANC sits at a level of policy. Okay. So that we need to draw a distinction between those issues. The second set of issues are what some has referred to as non-core. I don't think we've dealt with in detail here, but it's a principled discussion which has taken place in the ANC. We're not dealing with it now, but you'll recall that's contained in the NDP and other documents of the ANC. Even in ESCOM at some point in time, I don't know what stopped them. For instance, they were trying to sell a tender sometime about 2 to 3 years ago. They've got a housing book. They are not a bank. They're an electricity generation company, but they've got some banking activities they're trying to offload to people who can do that better. Does all of this package provide certainty to the investment community? 90% yes. Why I say 90%? We've not closed one chapter which government is got to close, not us. In terms of the strategic thrust of the structural reforms that we've put across, they are an important policy dimension and provide certainty. There's one puzzle which I would be misleading you if we don't close the ESCOM issue. It's not fully complete without closing the funding model for ESCOM, which I think by the time the minister makes the statement on the 30th, that matter would have been dealt with. And that's the message that must go across, that chapter would also have been closed by the 30th, by the time the minister makes the medium-term budget policy statement. Has the document accepted in its entirety? The document, if you look at it, we say the NEC considered and agreed on a range of economic policies. That includes some of the reforms, micro reforms which were contained in that document, and additional proposals that were enhancing that document which were put across. I must say there are some elements which were not included in this document precisely because we're of the view that they belong elsewhere. Let me tell you, you will see we've not made reference to the labor market reforms. Okay? We've not made reference to labor market reforms which are contained in this document. Deliberately did so because we've agreed both with the unions and others that these matter better dealt with, not that they've been dropped off, but because they're better dealt with at the level where the expertise is available. For instance, some of those labor market reforms, some of the issues were contained in the Job Summit agreements and so on, of which the ANC is not party to. So we have said those issues in agreement are better dealt with at NEDLEC. In other words, those are matters which doesn't mean they've been dropped, but are better dealt with at that level in NEDLEC. Insofar, if I remember the last issue, somebody made the apology. Poor Tito has been apologizing in different forums. We went together to top 6 to clarify some of these things. I think, general, by the time that we arrived at the NEC, there was a general acceptance that our focus now must move beyond process but on the substantive discussion. That's what has happened. Masego refers to, I'm referring to the last point, to the nationalization of the Reserve Bank. I think the nationalization of the Reserve Bank, I don't know whether it would be part of enhancing the economic reforms that we're talking about. It's part of the agenda of the ANC, as part of the resolutions of the ANC, the nationalization of the Reserve Bank, but it was not part of these packages because it does not fit in this package, it fits into a different package. And a process is in place to deal with that issue, and we'll make the appropriate report in the National General Council in the next eight months. So, I don't know.
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
Yeah, Kumbuzo will come after.
Yeah, no, I need to leave. I have an appointment with the president at 1. I just want to emphasize what Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma has said about the user pay principle. Services rendered must be paid for. And she was very clear that national government must provide leadership where the government owes ESCOM, must pay. Where they owe the municipality, they must pay. Where SARS, for example, the South African Revenue Service, owes taxpayers VAT refunds, they must pay. So all of us must generate this culture of paying for services rendered. Water boards must be paid. Citizens who owe municipalities must pay, except that the Zani municipality must stop overcharging me, but I pay, nevertheless. There's a famous township in Gauteng which owes ESCOM 18 billion rand. They must pay. I won't say anything about e-tolls because I'll get into trouble, but whatever. If you use a road, you must pay, but I'm not saying anything about e-tolls. Second point I wanted to make. No, I'm not allowed to talk about e-tolls. The president will be upset with me. He says to me, you know what, Minister? There's a saying in Chivenda which says that a brave man walks bare feet on thorns. Zuklaba, so you must be strong. Was about strong. Second point I wanted to make before I go, you'll see in the NEC statement there, it says, SG, it says, this is very important, you shouldn't miss this point. It says, 1, 2, 3, the third paragraph from the top, it says, the National Executive Committee considered and agreed on a range of economic policy interventions to achieve a higher rate of economic growth and economic inclusion based on presentations by the Economic Transformation Committee. So the question you asked about some paper somewhere is answered here. So that closes that matter. That shouldn't be any further problem about that. So, since this is an ANC press conference, we should stick to the SG's statement. I will have things to say in my government capacity somewhere, not here, about that. Yes. But thank you very much. Yes. Could I ask for permission to? Oh, no. The last point, which Kumuzo is going to talk about, which is in the document as well, that we are encouraging businesses to get registered and to obtain licenses to trade, whether it's small or big. So we know who is owning what business, do they have their license to trade. Amongst other things, it will mean that Comrade Gwen will say, but your health standards are not proper. You are selling expired goods to people. Therefore, although you are registered, we might take away your license to trade because you're doing wrong things. You know, in Paray, for example, where the SG comes from, I tried to buy a charger at a shop. A charger. I go in, I buy it, I pay 400 rand, I pay, and the fellow doesn't give me a receipt. So I said, but give me a receipt. He says, what receipt? I said, no, because in the receipt, it will show me your business registration number, your tax number. The fellow didn't have it. I told you, I reported to you that you must do something about it. So get registered, get a license to trade, and leave my shoes alone.
Kombozo, and then after Kombozo is the SG, and then from there we close. Comrade Dakota?
No, it's okay. SG will cover.
Thank you, SG. I thought there was no question directed to myself on SMME, except that the questions on how we want to transform and ensure there's economic inclusion, which was covered on the response around district development model, to say part of us doing one plan and one intervention in the areas to make sure that we also build the local economy as part of government strategy to bring the local economy. And Minister of Comrade Tito has addressed the matter of licensing and regulations, and we are happy that the NEC resolved to support government in initiating appropriate regulatory framework for SMMEs, including supporting them in terms of funding, in terms of access to information, in terms of access to markets, and also just enterprise development as part of our work. And that will be happening through the district development model, and the regulations will be coming soon. Thank you.
I think all questions have been answered. And if you look at the statement, we are saying we are implementing our 2019 election manifesto. And what we are doing here, we are also implementing conference resolutions, because I know you are interested as to whether our deployees are implementing our resolutions. There is no issue around implementation of NASREC resolutions and other conference resolutions. And that's why we are busy evaluating what we have implemented in terms of our resolutions of conferences over a period of time since after the unbanning of the ANC. And we'll be able to trace as to which resolutions we have not implemented. There is no disagreement by the National Executive Committee and any other person to implement conference resolutions. And that's what we'll actually do. And Comrade Enoch has actually cited part of resolutions we have taken, be it the National Development Plan, 2019 Election Manifesto, the issue of equity. Because when you talk about equity partners, we have also said it was agreed that the long-standing ANC policy with respect to strategic equity partners in various state-owned companies, and consideration will be given to models of worker and social ownership. It can't be privatization. It happens throughout the world. And in making sure that we catch up and we make sure that we deal with issues of unemployment, inequalities, and poverty, this is the right route to take. And the last question, I think there are two questions. I think the one of formalization has been addressed. The issue of the alliance partners. We have been engaging with the party. We have been engaging with COSATU. They were part of the meeting, but we have actually said we are going to have a political alliance council so that where there are areas of disagreement, because we have a real good 4 days where people were open and frank, and our differences are not so much, but we said where there are still issues to be addressed and flagged, we have actually made sure that we will come back and address those issues. There are no serious fundamental problems and challenges, and we'll be able, as the alliance, and we will engage the party on the issue of, because it's not a party decision yet. It's some structures within the party saying the party is actually intending to go its own way in terms of contesting elections. But the party is still part of our alliance, and we are actually moving forward in ensuring that we cement that relationship, because it is necessary to cement that relationship. That relationship was based on blood and sweat of our people. And the issue of candidate selections, which we have actually raised. In every elections, we also look at ourselves, self-criticism, we look at the systems, what we can improve, and that's why we are actually looking at through the eye of the needle. What type of leadership we actually need at local government level. And we'll deal with those issues. We'll deal with leaders. We want leaders who will actually account. For instance, in the past elections, more than 70% of councillors were new people. And we are saying, you can't run government that way. You must always retain those skills. You must always have continuity. You must always have that experience, so that you don't start from scratch. You actually go in and you run. So the theme, what was running throughout the meeting was implementation of our resolutions, implementations of our decisions, implementations of our policy positions, implementation and implementation. And we agreed that there must be timelines in whatever we do. And that's where the ANC comes in and monitor whether our deployees will actually implement within particular timelines and account, because people are going to account at all levels. And we have said there will be consequence management. We can't give you a year to do the following things, and those things don't happen. And when the president and the ANC says Minister so and so is not performing, you then see it as a factional type of thing. There are going to be consequences for those who are not going to implement what we have actually decided on. And the meeting was excellent, very frank, engaging, wonderful. And I think the media must capture that mood of positivity, so that you make sure that society in South Africa in general has this positive mood to rebuild South Africa in terms of the challenges of poverty, inequality, as well of inequalities and poverty, as well as all those challenges we have talked about, unemployment. So have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for coming. And give the nation what we have reported to you. Don't distort, okay?
No, thank you very much. This brings us to the end of our briefing, and thanks for coming. If there are any other issues outside the press statement, we can deal with those.
One correction there is, I'm showing the statement we have written 50th anniversary of the Chinese Revolution, but it must be fixed now. 70th.
Health market investigation is the health market inquiry.
Oh.
Is that yours, Pule?
Just change it.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir.